So some of the best way of not throwing the magic ratio off is preventing conflict from occurring. One of the most effective way of stopping that communication is doing these preventative things so that conflict doesn't occur. Setting boundaries early on, early frame announcements or early frame thing. For example, an ex or anyone we've ever had sex with drops in our DMs, we need to make sure we share that with each other and not have secret conversations, right? You say that before it happens so that you're not finding out about some conversation she's having with an ex-boyfriend and wondering if she's really invested in you and getting upset and pissed off and her going, well, I didn't do anything wrong. A good preventative one is the level of commitment you're in. So some of you guys are just dating and there's kind of an unsaid thing in the beginning that you're dating. But if she's going to have an expectation that you're with her exclusively, and if you're presenting to her that you're with her exclusively without having that conversation and you're dating two other women, well, you're going to have this common problem I see all the time. The guys spinning the plates is they really like the girl and they get 6 months, a year into it with her. And they're thinking about a commitment, but she finds out that he had been banging other women for the first 3, 4, 5 months of the relationship. And there was never any communication about that. Now there's a conflict, right? A conflict that maybe could have been prevented, right? And so there's all of these things that you got to think ahead and think about conflicts, and you want to recognize your partner's emotional trigger points, things that are going to bother that person, things that make them anxious, things that are going to create a friction in your relationship, things that bother you that your other person could do or stimulate without even knowing it. And you want to find those opportunities with the right time and place to illustrate those boundaries, illustrate those conditions, and to communicate so that we prevent future conflict. So some of the best way of not throwing the magic ratio off is preventing conflict from occurring. So preventative, a good example, like why wait until the chick you're finding mementos from an ex-boyfriend and a bunch of stuff, you know what I mean? And creating that friction point during the dating process as a preventative measure. I mean, I'm going to set that frame. This party's setting your frame. I'm going to say like, hey, this kind of behavior is good for me. This isn't good for me. And she does that too, by the way. I mean, women do that all the time. They'll say like in a larger sense, like what they're comfortable with and what they're not before things happen. Most people do this to a small degree, but I think that you guys need to be more aware and to do this to a much larger degree. The reason why, especially besides avoiding conflict, is that ratio, that magic ratio, right, of 5 to 1. You now have a positive interaction with her about a boundary because it hasn't been crossed. And you guys get that good feeling about that. And that gives her the opportunity, if she is crossing that boundary, to remedy that before you get into a conflict, And so that keeps it positive versus waiting for a conflict and now having these negative friction points that erode away and chip away at the relationship. So that's one silver bullet for you, is to use the preventative. Okay.